What if the miracle you needed didn't come in the form of money or healing or escape, but came instead in the form of a stranger with rolled up sleeves, a quiet prayer, and a recipe only heaven could have written? This is the story of Tasha Bright, a single mother whose food truck was falling apart, just like her faith, and Dae Hyun, a quiet chef from Seoul, sent not to rescue her, but to serve beside her. Together, they didn't just feed a town, they built an altar, one meal, one prayer, one broken offering at a time. If you've ever wondered where God is in the in-between, if you've ever dared to believe he could turn flour and tears into something holy, you're in the right place. Welcome to today's story, a Christian AMBW love story about provision, partnership, and the quiet kind of love that follows where the Spirit leads. Now, let's dive in. The smell of burnt cornbread clung to the air like guilt. Tasha Bright yanked open the food truck's rear door and coughed as a puff of black smoke rolled out. Her chest heaved. She tossed the charred pan into the sink, slammed the faucet, and bit her lip to keep the tears down. "Lord, not today," she whispered. "Not today." But it was today. The fryer had already started leaking that morning. Again. She'd stuffed an old dish towel around the valve like a tourniquet, praying it would hold through lunch. It didn't. And now, after one emergency order of fried fish for a nearby funeral, her cornbread, the only thing she had left to offer, was burnt beyond resurrection. She leaned her elbows against the tiny countertop and dropped her forehead to her forearm. The vinyl stuck to her skin in the late summer humidity. The Bright Bites logo on the food truck's door was peeling. Her last grocery bill sat unpaid in her inbox, and her 9-year-old daughter, Lila, had asked her this morning why she skipped her own devotions lately. Tasha couldn't answer, because she didn't know if she believed them anymore. After closing up, she parked the truck beside her modest duplex, just outside the edge of the neighborhood, where people still mowed their lawns and waved at each other. Inside, Lila was already asleep with her little pink Bible open beside her on the pillow. Tasha tucked the blanket up under her chin and sat on the couch. She didn't turn the light on. She just stared into the darkness, hands open, fingers curled like broken wings. "Jehovah," she said, voice cracking, "if you still see me, show me." She didn't cry loud, just sat, breathing in the ache, breathing out the silence. Nothing moved. No signs, no wonder, no dove descending. Only stillness. The next morning, she was late opening the truck. As usual, her first customer didn't show. The air was thick with heat, the kind that made your t-shirt cling before 10 a.m. She sighed, flipping through the menu and wondering if she could pull off a grilled cheese special without butter. That's when she heard it. A soft knock on the food truck window. She turned and blinked. A man stood on the gravel beside the truck, late 30s, maybe early 40s, Korean by the looks of him, clean black hair, faint tan, calm eyes, a dark gray button down, sleeves rolled to his forearms, one hand in his pocket. He looked like he should be modeling minimalist fashion or heading into a prayer retreat. "Can I help you?" she asked, sliding the window halfway open. He looked up. No smile, just a calm, steady gaze. "I'd like to cook for your truck," he said. Tasha raised a brow. "Excuse me?" He nodded once like a man confident in silence. "In Jesus' name." She squinted. "In whose name?" "Jesus," he repeated, voice soft but unwavering. A full 3 seconds passed. Tasha stared at him like he just quoted a psalm in the middle of a gas station. She finally let out a short laugh. "Okay, who sent you?" "No one sent me," he said. "I was praying this morning. He said to come here." "You're telling me the Holy Ghost told you to knock on the food truck of a stranger and offer to cook for free?" He tilted his head slightly. "I didn't say free," she blinked, "but I didn't say for money either." She crossed her arms. Then what are you saying? I'm saying. He looked up at the faded Bright Bites sign above the window. Sometimes, when oil runs out, God sends someone with loaves and fish. She stared. A long, cautious pause. He didn't budge, didn't look away, didn't sell himself. Just stood there, quiet, like still water in the middle of chaos. Reluctantly, and only because she didn't have another soul to help her today, she let him step inside. He removed his shoes at the step without being asked. She noticed. He rolled up his sleeves more and washed his hands with more care than some surgeons. Then he asked, "Do you have soy sauce, eggs, or rice?" "No," she said. "You think I'm running a buffet?" "I have canned greens, 3 onions, a jar of hot sauce, and a busted fryer." He smiled slightly. It was the first time he did. "I can work with that." He pulled out a small metal pot from his backpack, stirred together the greens with crushed hot sauce, diced the onions, and added a pinch of something from a small brown vial. Within 5 minutes, the truck smelled different. Not like Southern soul food, but something richer, earthier, like prayers that had been marinating overnight. She watched, silently. By noon, people had started lining up. 5 people, then 10. Then someone asked for seconds. Then someone started taking photos. Tasha couldn't believe it. This man, this stranger, stood behind her grill humming softly in Korean and handing out warm bowls of something that made folks close their eyes while they chewed. When the last bowl was handed out and the truck was finally quiet, Tasha leaned against the counter, still dazed. She looked at him. "Okay, who are you?" He didn't answer directly. He reached into his back pocket, pulled out a small handwritten piece of paper, and gently placed it on the counter beside her. It read, "Is this not the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to feed the hungry, and bring the poor that are cast out to thy house?" Isaiah 58, verse 6 to 7. He looked at her then. Really looked at her. "Sometimes the oil runs out," he said quietly. "So God sends the fire instead." Tasha's breath caught. He turned to leave, stopping at the door. "I'll come back tomorrow," he added gently, "if you'll let me." And then he was gone. Outside, the sun beat down on the truck. Her fryer still leaked. Her bills were still due, but the smell of hope hadn't left. The next morning, she told herself he wasn't coming. She opened the food truck anyway. Tasha Bright stood outside Bright Bites at 6:57 a.m., arms crossed, eyes narrowed toward the gravel drive like it owed her money. She hadn't slept much. Her mind kept rewinding the moment he handed her that scrap of Isaiah 58. She had stuffed it in her prayer journal. Hadn't opened it since, but it was still there. At 7:02 a.m., he came. Same rolled sleeves, same quiet eyes. This time, he had a small black duffel bag with him. "You really came back?" she asked, arms still folded. "You opened the truck," he said with a small bow. "So I assumed the invitation was still extended." Tasha exhaled slowly. "You cook like that again, I might end up feeding half the zip code." "That would be a blessing," he replied. She gave a snort. "You and your scriptures." He smiled, saying nothing. She let him in. Again, he removed his shoes at the step. This time, he brought his own knife, wrapped in a neat cloth with faded Korean writing embroidered across the edge. He unfolded it like a holy relic, then gently set it down beside the cutting board. He washed his hands, bowed his head, and prayed, out loud, before slicing a single onion. Tasha blinked. "Hold on. You pray before cutting onions?" "Always," he said without looking up. "Every ingredient has a purpose. So does every day." She leaned against the sink, arms crossed again, but not in defense this time, more like curiosity wrapped in denim. The meal wasn't flashy, just a stir-fried rice bowl with slow-simmered greens, pickled okra, sweet corn fritters, and a golden-yolked egg on top. The kind of food that looked like it was made by someone's great-grandmama. who also sang in the choir and never measured anything with spoons. The smell wafted down the street like a divine invitation. By 11:30, the line outside the truck had tripled. "Girl, what is this?" "This tastes like Sunday morning and revival in a bowl. You put crack in this rice, didn't you?" Tasha watched through the serving window as old customers came back for seconds. Even the man who never tipped left a $5 bill in the jar with a sticky note that read, "Bless you." And still, this man behind her moved like the calm in the eye of a storm. He didn't hustle, didn't shout, didn't boast, just moved and hummed some soft hymn in Korean that she couldn't name, but somehow felt in her bones. After the rush, she finally asked him, "Okay, where did you really train? Because there's no way you cook like this and just happen to show up outside my busted truck." He looked up from the dishes he was quietly washing. His hands were gentle, intentional, and when he answered, he did so like someone answering a call, not defending a resume. "The Spirit led me," he said, "from Seoul to here." She laughed, loud enough to echo off the side of the truck. "That's it? That's your whole backstory?" He shrugged, unbothered. "What more is there?" "I don't know, maybe I worked for Gordon Ramsay, or I was in the Korean military culinary unit or something." He smiled softly. "I did work in a Michelin kitchen, but that's not who I am now." She froze. "Wait, you what?" He shook his head, drying a dish. "It was a former life, one with no peace. Cooking is different now." She stared at him. He went back to drying the bowls. Like he hadn't just dropped a bomb. That night, after Lila fell asleep, Tasha sat with her journal open. The scrap of Isaiah 58 was still folded there. She looked out the window at the truck parked beside the house. A small light flickered on in the cabin, probably a motion light, but it felt like a sign. She whispered out loud, "Lord, who is this man?" She closed her eyes. She didn't want to admit it yet, not even to herself. But something stirred when he spoke about the Spirit, when he looked at the food like it was worship, when he bowed before the stove like it was an altar. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't fine in the obvious way, but there was a quiet strength about him, a gentleness with gravity. And when she heard him say, "The Spirit led me from Seoul to here," it almost felt like maybe the Spirit had led her too, even if she didn't know it. Yet, the morning sun rolled slow over Carolina rooftops, wrapping the town in that late summer heat that made everything move a little slower, talk a little softer, and pray a little longer. Tasha stirred cream into her coffee, staring out the kitchen window. From here, she could just make out the side of the truck, bright bites still clinging to the paint like it refused to give up too. But what caught her eye this time wasn't the logo. It was Lila, barefoot, wild curls everywhere, standing next to him, Dae-hyun, on a plastic stool beside the truck, grinning as he handed her a ladle that looked almost too big for her hands. Tasha narrowed her eyes. Lord, what kind of culinary missionary lets a child saute onions at 7 a.m.? When she stepped out, the smell of sweet pepper and something faintly sesame drifted into the yard. Lila turned, beaming. "Mommy, Mr. Dae-hyun says I'm a natural," she said proudly, holding up a spoon like a trophy. Tasha raised a brow. "Oh, does he?" Dae-hyun, calm as ever, bowed slightly. "She asked me to teach her." I couldn't say no. Tasha crossed her arms. "You could have asked me." He nodded. "You're right." I apologize. Then to Lila, "We always ask the parent first." Lila sighed, clearly annoyed by the interruption of her culinary debut. "Can we finish just this one dish? It's rice porridge with scallions and ginger." Tasha blinked. "Since when do you know the word scallions?" "She asked me to teach her Korean, too," Dae-hyun added quietly. Tasha looked at him. Really looked. His sleeves were rolled again. Hands gloved. He stood a respectful distance, never touching her child, never overstepping, just Showing up. Later that evening, after the truck closed, Lila helped wash the bowls at the kitchen sink. "I want to learn how to pray in Korean," she said suddenly. Tasha looked up from her laptop. "Why?" "Because Mr. Daehyun said it's beautiful to worship God in your mother tongue. I asked him what his favorite prayer was. He told me Psalm 23. Tasha softened. "That's one of Mommy's favorites too, baby." Lila smiled. "Can I pray for him tonight?" Tasha hesitated, then nodded. "Go ahead." Lila closed her eyes tight. "God, thank you for sending Mr. Daehyun to help us. Please bless his hands and his heart. And if he's ever sad, help him know he's not alone. Amen." Tasha swallowed something thick in her throat. Her daughter never prayed like that for any of her exes, not even her late husband. There was something pure about it, not childish, holy. Later, that night, Tasha stayed behind to clean up while Daehyun packed up his knives. "You didn't have to teach her all that," she said, drying a pan. "She'll cling to you now." He looked over gently. "Is that a bad thing? I'm her mother. She already lost one father. I don't want her forming unrealistic expectations." "I understand," he said quietly. "I lost my mother when I was 12. Tasha's hand stilled. "I didn't know that. She made soup with the same scallions Lila used today. That's why I smiled when she asked." Silence passed like warm wind through cracked windows. "Can I ask you something?" she said finally. He nodded. "Why would a man like you settle in this town? No offense, but this ain't exactly Seoul." He thought for a long time, then said, "Sometimes God hides oil in broken jars." Tasha blinked. She didn't know if he meant the old friar or her. That night, after tucking Lila into bed, Tasha pulled out her Bible, not to study, just to touch it again. She flipped to the folded page where Isaiah 58 still lived. Next to it, she wrote down 4 words. Oil in broken jars. She didn't know why, but the moment she wrote it, it felt like something had started to heal. Not loudly, not all at once, but enough to whisper, "He's still here." The sun rose slow, like it didn't want to interrupt the peace. Tasha stood by the truck window with her hands wrapped around a mug of tea. The scent of honey and ginger curled through the early morning air. It was a quiet Friday, a day she once dreaded, but today it had a name. First Fruits Friday. She'd gotten the idea 2 weeks ago after reading the story of the widow in Zarephath, the one with nothing but a little flour and oil, until she shared her last meal with the prophet Elijah. Give God the first, Daehyun had told her that night, not the leftovers. And somehow, that became their rhythm. Every Friday now, the truck didn't just sell food, it gave it. No receipts, no totals, just open windows, open hands, and open hearts. Word had spread faster than a church gossip line. By noon, a line snaked down the block. Some came with kids. Some came with grief. Some came with nothing but hunger in their eyes and shame in their posture. Daehyun worked quietly behind the grill, humming as always. Tasha moved beside him, serving, smiling, gently laying warm containers into hands that trembled from more than just hunger. A man with a stained polo and no teeth asked if he could pray for them. A teen girl left a single wildflower in their tip jar. One woman, eyes swollen from weeping, simply whispered, "Thank you," and kissed the top of Tasha's hand before leaving. Halfway through the afternoon, an older black woman, maybe mid-60s, stepped forward. A head wrap framed her gentle face. Her hands shook violently as she reached for the tray. Tasha steadied it for her. "Would you like me to carry it to the bench, ma'am?" The woman hesitated, embarrassed. "It's the chemo. Makes me feel like I got fire in my bones." Before Tasha could speak, Daehyun emerged from behind the grill. Not fast, not dramatic, just present. He bowed gently before her. "May I pray for you?" The woman looked surprised. I'm not from your church, baby. He smiled softly. That's fine. Neither is he. Tasha held her breath. Dae-hyun placed one hand over hers, trembling and all, and the other hovered above her shoulder. Jehovah Rapha, he began softly, you are the God who heals. You knit her in the womb. You number her days. You see every pain, every marrow, every breath. Touch her now, not because she deserves it, but because you are good. Tasha swallowed. Her eyes burned. The grill hissed in the background, but in this moment, the only heat was the one filling her chest. When the prayer ended, there was no lightning, no flashes, just a stillness, and slowly, the woman looked down at her hands. Still, not a shake. She looked up, eyes wide. Lord have mercy, she whispered. It's been months since I could hold something without spilling it. Dae-hyun didn't smile like a man who wanted credit. He just said, he sees you. The woman wept, and Tasha stepped away before her own tears betrayed her. Later that afternoon, after the rush, Tasha wiped down the counter when a sharply dressed woman stepped to the window. Sunglasses, designer jeans, camera bag. Name's Camille, she said, offering a card. I run Southern Palette, food blog, social reviews, that kind of thing. Tasha blinked. You're here for our truck? Camille nodded, biting into a spoonful of rice. Her eyes widened. Okay, who's the magician behind this? Tasha smirked, jerking a thumb toward the man by the sink. That'd be our resident mystery chef, Dae-hyun. Camille peered inside. Korean? Missionary, Tasha said. Apparently, Camille's brow rose. So, what's the story here? Because this doesn't taste like just good intentions. This is technique. Michelin level control. Soul food meets soul food. Tasha chuckled. We just call it first fruits. Camille tilted her head. If you ever decide to franchise, call me. And just like that, she disappeared. That night, Tasha sat with her journal again. The word first fruits was circled over and over. She thought of the woman with trembling hands, of Lila praying in Korean now, of people who left full, not just in their stomachs, but in their spirits, and of Dae-hyun, standing behind her each day, never asking for praise, never seeking credit, just serving. She looked out the window at him again. He was sitting under the sycamore tree by the truck, Bible in his lap, reading by the porch light. He didn't look up, but softly, as if knowing she was watching, he spoke. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over Luke 6 verse 38. Tasha closed her journal, and for the first time in years, she whispered back, Amen. The article dropped on a Thursday morning. Tasha was still in her bonnet, frying turkey bacon for Lila's breakfast, when her phone started buzzing, and buzzing, and buzzing. By the time she checked her inbox, she had over 50 new emails, all with some version of the subject line. We read the story. We want in. The food critic Camille hadn't just written a review. She'd written a testimony. In a quiet Carolina town, a food truck is doing more than feeding bellies. It's restoring dignity. The food is immaculate, but the spirit, holy. Welcome to Bright Bites. Come hungry, leave whole. And then came the photos. Tasha, smiling with a toddler. Dae-hyun, bent in prayer. A woman clutching her to-go bowl with trembling hands, finally stilled. It didn't take long. Her phone rang before noon. They met at a trendy cafe 2 towns over, where the floors were polished and the cappuccinos came with foamed hearts. Tasha wore her best blazer over jeans. Dae-hyun came in clean and quiet, as always. His presence wasn't corporate, but it carried more weight than any man in the room. Across the table sat 2 men in tailored suits and sleek glasses, investors from Atlanta who claimed they wanted to elevate her brand. Bright Bites has heart, said the taller one, pressing his fingertips together like a sermon. That's what people want. Soul, story, authenticity. The shorter man chimed in. But we need to polish the message. Make it a little more mainstream. Tasha tilted her head. What does that mean exactly? Well, the taller man said smoothly, the faith stuff is beautiful, but it narrows your market. People want the food, not necessarily the faith. We're thinking of rebranding. Keep the recipes, streamline the language. Dae-hyun sat still, his eyes fixed on nothing in particular. And him, the other added, gesturing slightly in Dae-hyun's direction. The whole missionary chef angle is intriguing, but if we're scaling this thing, we need someone with a culinary profile. Someone public-facing, familiar. Tasha blinked. You want me to remove him? We're saying, the man said gently, if you want this to grow, you have to make hard decisions. Lose the religion. Keep the recipes. Tasha's chest tightened. Her hand curled slowly around her coffee mug. She looked at Dae-hyun. He hadn't moved, hadn't flinched, but something behind his calm had shifted. She turned back to the investors and said clearly, without the word, it's just flour. Silence. Even the espresso machine across the room paused. I'm sorry? The investor asked, clearly thrown off. Tasha leaned forward. This truck runs on scripture and prayer, not marketing strategies. You can't plate what we're serving unless you've been at the altar we cooked it on. They stared. Dae-hyun finally spoke softly. She's right. They didn't speak on the ride back, not at first. The sun streamed through the windshield, casting long golden lines across the dashboard. Finally, Tasha broke the silence. You okay? He looked out the window. I was ready for it. For what? For being erased. She exhaled. They don't see you. I don't need to be seen, he said. I need to be obedient. She glanced at him. Did it hurt, though? His jaw tightened, then relaxed. Yes, he admitted. Then softer. But obedience doesn't always feel good. It just bears fruit. That night, after putting Lila to bed, Tasha sat outside the truck alone. Her phone buzzed with 3 more emails. We'd love to help you grow. We believe in your vision. Let's talk strategy. But every time she read the words expand or scale or opportunity, her chest felt heavier, not lighter. What if this was God's provision? What if he was using the exposure to multiply what they were doing? Or what if this was the temptation before the wilderness? She looked up at the stars and whispered, Lord, you see more than I do, but I need to know. Is this harvest or test? Dae-hyun found her sitting on the food truck step, a blanket over her shoulders. He didn't ask permission. He just sat beside her, quiet, present. I didn't come here to be famous, he said after a while. She looked at him. Why did you come? He turned to her, and in the moonlight his expression was calm, but deeper than she'd seen before. Because someone here was praying, and I was available. Her eyes filled suddenly. Tears didn't fall, but they threatened. She whispered, I was. He nodded once. I know. They sat in silence, side by side, a food truck behind them. Emails in her phone, but peace in her chest. Even in the tension, the promise lingered like warm bread in the air. God was in the mix. The envelope was thin, white, no return address, just his name in careful English, slanted slightly like it had been written in hesitation. Kim Dae-hyun. It arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, tucked between a local coupon flyer and a half-folded church bulletin someone had mistakenly delivered to the truck mailbox. He knew the handwriting before he opened it. Chef Kim, Michelin has followed your story through private circles. Your absence is still talked about in Seoul's culinary world. We'd like to invite you to write a new chapter with us, a formal return, full re-entry, redemption, not reproof. We want your name back on a plate. Think about it. Pray if you must, But no, the doors are open. Youngwook Bae, Director, Seoul Michelin Committee. He folded the letter slowly. No anger, no joy, no pride, just silence. He pressed the envelope flat and tucked it into the back pocket of his Bible. Then he stood and began to cook. The next morning, he rose before dawn, not just early, earlier than usual, before even the birds began to sing. Tasha noticed it first through the window, how the truck lights flickered on before her alarm did. She pulled her robe tighter and peeked out. He was already in the truck, praying, not hurried, not performative, but longer. She could see. Head bowed over the counter, hands resting beside a single open page. He wasn't praying like someone seeking answers. He was praying like someone laying down a sacrifice. By the time she came outside with 2 coffees, the air smelled different. Not the food, the fire. His movements were sharper, more precise. The way he turned the spatula in his palm. The way he tasted the broth and shook his head, adjusting the heat by instinct alone. It was like watching a dancer move through familiar choreography. Only this time, it wasn't just holy. It was haunted. Tasha handed him his coffee. He nodded a thank you, smiled even. But there was distance behind his eyes, and she felt it like a breeze that doesn't touch your skin. "You've been thinking about leaving?" The question hovered in her chest for days. She didn't ask it. She couldn't. Every time she thought about it, Lila would interrupt with a drawing or a joke, or someone would knock on the truck window with a prayer request, or Dae-hyun would hum something gentle in Korean that made her heart slow down. But he was changing. She saw it in the way he triple-checked the ingredients now, in the way he stared at the horizon just a little too long between orders, in the way he lingered in prayer but spoke less after. On the 6th day after the envelope arrived, Tasha found herself sitting on her porch after closing, knees pulled to her chest. Lila had fallen asleep early. The stars were thick above her, and she couldn't shake the feeling. She whispered into the dark, "Jehovah, don't let this be another goodbye." As if on cue, she heard footsteps. Dae-hyun appeared at the edge of the walkway, holding a bowl wrapped in a dish towel. "Made you something," he said. She took it without a word. When she opened the towel, the scent nearly broke her. It was her mama's recipe. Sweet potato stew. Smoky, thick, with a cinnamon hint that almost no one got right. "How'd you know?" she asked, tears rising. He shrugged. "Lila said it was your comfort food." She didn't know what hurt more, the taste of it, or the thought that he might be cooking her memories before walking away from them. "What are you running from, Dae-hyun?" She didn't mean to say it. The words just came. He didn't look up right away. Then, softly, "I'm not running. I'm remembering." She furrowed her brow. He met her eyes. "They offered me my name back." She froze. "Who?" "Michelin. Seoul. My old life." He paused. "They said I could redeem myself, reclaim my reputation, start again, as someone they respect." Her voice was barely a whisper. "And do you want that?" Silence. Then, gently, "I want to want it." She looked away. He continued, "But every time I pray, I taste something here that I never tasted in Seoul, even when my name was on signs." "What is it?" she asked. "Peace." He stood to leave, then paused. "I didn't tell you earlier because I didn't want to influence your decision about the investors." Tasha blinked. "That's why you've been different." He nodded once. "God hasn't told me to leave," he said. "But if he does, I'll go." She swallowed hard, then asked the quietest question of all. "And if he tells you to stay?" Dae-hyun looked at her, slow and tender. "Then I'll stay, every day, until he says otherwise." She didn't speak, didn't trust her voice, but she nodded, slowly. And when she looked back down at the bowl in her lap, she realized her hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the realization that she didn't want to build this alone anymore. Not the truck, not the food, not the future. It happened sometime between midnight and morning, when the town was asleep, when even the street dogs had curled up beneath porch lights. The truck was parked, like always, beside the house, under the sycamore tree. And in the quiet, someone came. Tasha didn't see it at first. She came out holding 2 coffees, one for her, one for Dae-hyun. It had become routine now, this strange little rhythm of service and shared silence. But this morning, she stopped mid-step. Coffee hit the ground before the scream left her throat. The windshield of the food truck was shattered. A brick still sat beneath the driver's seat, lodged into the glass like a threat. Red spray paint covered the side. Fake profit truck. Jesus don't sell. Go back to Korea. Tasha's knees went weak. She staggered forward, her hand gripping the doorframe like a woman half drowning. The inside was worse. Flour everywhere. Sugar dumped into the sink. Oil containers cracked open and poured out onto the floor like blood. The fridge had been unplugged. Everything spoiled. And yet, she didn't cry. Not yet. Dae-hyun arrived 5 minutes later. He didn't ask what happened. Didn't gasp. Didn't curse. Didn't say anything. He just looked, stepped inside, and started cleaning. Tasha watched him through the open door. He swept, replugged, scraped paint from the windows with a butter knife. His movements were slow, steady, reverent. It was like watching someone mend a chapel after an earthquake. She finally stepped inside and sank onto the bench. "They came for our altar," she whispered. He paused, standing with a tangled wire in his hand. "No," he said gently. "They came for the glory." She looked up, and for a moment, everything in her, the rage, the heartbreak, the confusion, rose. "I knew someone would do this," she said, voice shaking. "The restaurant owner 2 streets down. He's been watching us, watching you, ever since Camille posted about us. He told me God don't belong in food." She laughed bitterly. "He said people come for flavor, not faith." Dae-hyun's eyes softened. He sat beside her, took a breath, and then spoke. "The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise Psalm 51, verse 17. Tasha's eyes welled. She looked around at the flour on the walls, the wires hanging from the lights, the cracked door hinges. It was ruined, and yet he kept sweeping. He didn't seem angry, just focused. They worked side by side through the day and into the evening. No customers, no orders, just repair. By dusk, the truck was mostly cleaned, still dented, still bruised, but whole enough to stand. Tasha collapsed onto the cooler. Her apron was covered in grease and flour. She held her head in her hands. Dae-hyun stood at the stove, testing the burner, watching the flame rise and fall. The truck was quiet, sacred, like the aftermath of war, when the survivors realize they still have breath. Tasha looked at him, really looked. His shirt clung to his back from sweat. There was a smudge of flour across his cheek. His knuckles were scraped. He hadn't complained once. Not once. Not when the oil ruined his prep. Not when the shelves were shattered. Not when his homeland was insulted. And that's when the words slipped out. Quiet. Frightened. Why does it feel like you're about to leave? He didn't turn, didn't flinch. He only stirred the broth and didn't answer. That night, Tasha stood alone inside the truck. The lights were back on. The ingredients restocked. The paint still lingered faintly on the side. She didn't scrub it all off. Not yet. Let it stay, she thought. Let them know this truck still stood. She ran her hand over the counters and whispered, Lord, if this is the sacrifice you wanted, if this is the altar, then teach me how to lay my fear down next. The second envelope came with weight. Not literal weight, just a single page in a manila packet, but spiritual weight. The kind that sat in the middle of Daehyun's chest like an anvil. He didn't open it in the truck, didn't open it at the kitchen counter, and he waited until he was alone in the back garden, under the magnolia tree, where the air smelled like spring remembering. He broke the seal. Chef Kim, this is the final offer. A signed agreement awaits your confirmation. Full Michelin backing, executive role, television deals, book deal, Seoul's top culinary school as your nameplate. We want your story, all of it. The redemption arc, the silent return, the prodigal chef who found his hands again. They're already preparing your station. Come home. Youngwook Bae, Seoul Michelin Committee. Daehyun folded the letter slowly, laid it across his lap like an altar offering. Then he bowed his head and said nothing. No begging, no fear, just a trembling silence that shook his chest. Father, not my will. Tasha felt it before he spoke. The air shifted around him. He moved like someone carrying a decision too big to hide. He smiled softer. He prayed longer. He avoided eye contact with Lila. And when she saw him quietly taking inventory of his tools, her chest caved inward like something precious was being scooped out. That night, after Lila fell asleep, she slipped out onto the porch. Daehyun was seated at the steps, holding the letter. He didn't hide it. He handed it to her. She read every word, then closed her eyes and whispered, broken, "Please don't go." "I can't," she choked. "I can't do this again. I just learned how to breathe. You came into our lives like a prayer answered in flesh. You held us together when the truck was in pieces. When I was in pieces." Her voice cracked. "You taught my daughter how to pray in another tongue. And now you want to leave?" Daehyun's eyes were glassy but steady. He didn't touch her, didn't say her name like a promise. He said it like a prayer. "My place is wherever God sends me, even if it hurts." Tasha dropped to her knees beside the steps. She didn't care about appearances. She didn't care about grace. She needed God. Daehyun knelt beside her. They didn't hold hands, but their shoulders touched, their knees touched, and their spirits touched the heavens. She prayed through tears. He prayed through obedience. Together, they laid down what they could not keep, for the one who never left. The next morning, he packed quietly. No fanfare, no grand goodbye, just presence. Lila was playing in the living room when he walked in, crouched beside her, and handed her a soft cloth-bound book, a Korean Bible, well-worn, its corners folded, its margins filled with Korean notes and tiny English translations. He flipped to the first bookmarked verse. "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want." Psalm 23 verse 1. Then the second. "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine." Isaiah 43 verse 1. Then the third. "Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever." Hebrews 13 verse 8. He placed her little hand on the pages. "Read these every Friday," he said gently, "until I come back. Or until God sends someone else." Lila nodded, tears spilling without a word. He kissed her forehead. Tasha walked him to the truck. The one they built together, the one they bled in, the one they fed miracles from. She didn't beg again. She only whispered, "Did he say go?" He nodded once, eyes red, voice steady. He said, "Trust me." Then he turned and walked down the driveway. Not fast, not slow, just obedient. And as Tasha stood there, a breeze passed, gentle, warm, like arms around her shoulders. And though she didn't say it aloud, she knew God was not finished. There was still paint on the side of the truck. She could have washed it all off, but she didn't. Instead, Tasha took a can of white chalk paint, stood in front of the faded red insult, "Fake Prophet Truck," and painted over it, in bold, all caps, "Revival starts here." The final call from the Atlanta investors came on a Thursday morning. Tasha let it ring 4 times before answering. She was stirring biscuit dough at the time, flour in her hair, apron smeared with sweet potato. "Miss? Bright," the man said. "Have you had time to think about our proposal?" She wiped her hands slowly. "I have," she said, voice calm. He cleared his throat. "We're prepared to move forward. Trademarking, rollout, storefronts. You'll be the face, the story. It's a chance to scale something beautiful." Tasha glanced at the Bible open beside the flower bowl. Psalm 126 was circled in ink. "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy." She smiled, small and sure. "I'm gonna have to say no." Silence. "I appreciate it," she added, "but what we're building here, you can't franchise a move of God." Word spread fast. Tasha had no posters, no big-name preacher, no praise band with smoke machines, just a truck, a sidewalk, and a vision. First Fruits Revival was scrawled in marker on a board taped to a folding table. By noon, the block was full. Kids ran barefoot through the sprinklers. Grandmothers clapped along to an old hymn someone played from a Bluetooth speaker. Men bowed their heads in prayer without shame. And Tasha cooked like she'd been born for this day. Cornbread, jollof rice, Korean sweet pancakes from a recipe she didn't know by heart, but knew by memory, from his memory. She made every dish twice, 2 of each, 1 for the line, 1 for the plate that stayed waiting. In the middle of the afternoon, a woman in a headscarf approached the truck window, eyes glossy, voice low. "I came because someone told me y'all were praying folks," she said, "and I just needed something." Tasha smiled. "Pull up a chair, baby," she said. "Let me feed you before you fall apart." She did. She cried while eating. She left with a bag of food and a handwritten scripture. Isaiah 55, verse 1. "Come, all you who are thirsty." Near the end of the day, a quiet man in a gray polo approached the truck. Pastor of the new Vineyard Community Church, just 10 blocks over. He extended a hand. "You're doing more here in 3 hours than we've done in 3 years." Tasha laughed, startled. "I'm just cooking." "No," he said. "You're shepherding." He glanced at the crowd, at the empty pans, at the woman leading a prayer circle near the mailbox. "We've got a commercial kitchen we barely use," he said, "and a congregation that could use feeding, spiritually and otherwise." He handed her a card. "Let's talk partnership. We'd like to make First Fruits a ministry, not just a meal." Tasha blinked back the rush of tears. God didn't just provide. He multiplied. That night, long after the last chair was folded and the grill was scrubbed, Tasha stepped into the quiet kitchen. Lila was already asleep, Korean Bible tucked beneath her arm like a stuffed animal. Tasha moved with reverence. She set 2 bowls at the table, sweet potato stew, green onion rice, a slice of cornbread with a crisp edge, just the way he liked it. She sat at one side. The other remained untouched, but not unloved. She bowed her head, prayed over both plates, then whispered, "Still saving your seat." Easter morning came soft, not with trumpets or sky-splitting thunder, but with the scent of dew on magnolia leaves, and the quiet hum of a town remembering that resurrection isn't loud. It's faithful. Tasha woke before the alarm. She always did on Sundays, but this one felt different, lighter somehow. She moved through her morning routine with silent purpose, pressed her apron, brewed coffee, opened her Bible to the resurrection story, and kissed Lila's forehead before heading out to the truck. The town was already stirring. Families in pastel dresses strolled to early services. Kids ran with plastic eggs clutched in baskets. And someone down the block was playing an old gospel record that made the air feel warm. even though the sun hadn't climbed high yet. She reached the truck, unlocked the door, pulled it open, and froze. He was standing inside, just like that. Just there. Dae-hyun, same rolled sleeves, same quiet strength. A little more tan, a little more at peace. In one hand, a neatly wrapped egg roll. In the other, a folded piece of parchment paper, handwritten in Korean and English. He looked up, met her eyes, and smiled. "I told God I'd go wherever he leads," he said, voice steady. "This time, he led me back to you." Tasha didn't speak at first. Her breath caught. Her heart ran toward him before her feet did. Then she laughed. It came out like a prayer finally answered. "You brought food?" His smile deepened, soft, certain. "First, fruits." He explained it all as they set up the truck. How he'd spent weeks in Seoul, told Michelin no, taught at a shelter instead, shared Lila's prayers with strangers, and how, one morning, while praying in a quiet corner of a Gwanghwamun church, God whispered, "Now." That was it. Not a booming voice, not a vision, just now. He'd bought a ticket the next day. Lila came running out in bunny slippers when she heard the voice. "Dae-hyun!" He crouched to catch her midair, and she wrapped around his neck like she'd never let go. "I prayed every Friday," she said, breathless. "I know," he whispered back. "I felt everyone." Later, they sat around the tiny kitchen table. 3 bowls, 3 plates, a Korean Bible in Lila's lap. She opened to a page he'd marked last year, Psalm 100. "Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and bless his name." She read it out loud, in Korean, then looked up and said, "Ready?" Tasha nodded. Dae-hyun reached across the table, hand resting lightly beside hers, not quite holding it. Not yet, but close. They bowed their heads, and Lila prayed. The prayer ended. Laughter filled the room like light. Outside the food truck window, a line had already started forming. People holding plates, people holding stories, people holding out their hands for something more than just food. Revival hadn't ended. It had just begun. Again. The end, but really the beginning. There's a kind of healing that doesn't shout, a kind of love that doesn't chase, a kind of obedience that breaks your heart just before it rebuilds your purpose. This was never just a story about a food truck. It was about offering what's left, even when it's broken, even when it hurts, even when the oil runs out, and trusting that God can still make a feast from crumbs. Tasha didn't find her miracle in a check. Dae-hyun didn't find his redemption in Seoul. They found it in obedience, in service, in the quiet decision to stay until God says move. And every time they said yes, God said now. So if you're waiting, still cooking in the silence, still setting 2 plates when no one shows, don't stop. God sees. He hears. He multiplies. Because sometimes the greatest revival starts with one broken offering and one act of first fruit faith. Thank you for being part of this story. I pray your table is always full. In Jesus' name, amen. See you in the next story.